everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and today's going to be a bit of a combo. It's going to be an update to my bullet journal as well as a discussion of this disc binding system, which we're going to talk about in a minute. I have always kept a planner of some sort, whether it be a monthly, way back in the day with just the little monthly things, to regular plan, all different, every kind of probably planner that you can think of I've probably tried. And loved them all for various reasons. Not quite found one that was perfect. I think I actually may have come up with something that's going to be really perfect for me. So I want to quickly show sort of how I step through bullet journaling, because this first section is going to be an update on my bullet journal, and then we will talk about this. And I'll put the time in the description bar. I will put the time as where I start talking about this in case somebody wants to skip right there. But I started bullet journaling. Let me see if I can see the date I started. Let me see the first. Sometimes I haven't gone through here and blocked, like names and stuff like that. So March of 2016. So not quite a year ago, I started bullet journaling, and I started bullet journaling with this Leuchtturm, which I love. Like, I used this, and then after I stopped bullet journaling in it, I used it for my mundane business work. I do really love the size of this, and I liked the paper okay. Let me see, make sure I can not show any names here. did a little bit of watercolor here. I used this from March until, sorry, I just have client names and things, and I just want to make sure that those are not being shown. It looks like I used it until, what is this? Middle of August or so. Yeah, it looks like till about the middle. So from March till about the middle of August, I used this Leuchtturm, and then afterwards I've been using it just kind of listing for my other job. But I really did enjoy the size of this, and I really enjoyed the graph, and the paper is okay. You do see some ghosting through it with things, but it's not bad at all, and it's nice to write on. So this was the first bullet journal that I used, and then I got sucked. I've always wanted a Midori, always, forever, since I ever knew that there was one. I wanted them. I think it was before they were selling them in the States. And so I picked up a Midori because Patrick got one, and it sucked me into actually doing it. Now right now I used it for a while in my purse, and I loved it, but then I wasn't doing my bullet journaling because it always ended up in my purse, and so I'm working on putting this back together as something that is going to be almost like a glorified wallet, but I'm still in the process of remaking this. But what I did, because I knew that I would be going through inserts quicker, is I ended up, let me again make sure I don't have any names. I ended up putting my daily things in one section here, and I've played around with different formats. This is just a week format instead of going through a daily. I always use monthlies. That's important to me to have a monthly setup. I just work well with that. So I put all of these sort of monthly, weekly, dailies in one, because I knew these are smaller. I'd be going through these a lot. And then I put collections in a second one. And I have videos of these, or I might have future video lists, brain dumps, wish list for decks. I put my future planning in there, although I stopped using it that way. But so if you do bullet journaling, and I have videos on that, again, I'll put anything that I think is relevant in the description box. But I put collections in a second one so that as I moved in and out of these, I wouldn't have to keep redoing my collections. So these two together was the bullet journal system that I was using in my Midori. The problem that I have have with the Midori and for me in bullet journaling is that very often I want to have my day tracker open, and I'm playing with, I just have some inserts in here. But you know, if I had it here, I was constantly doing this. Like I'd have this crystal here, weighing it down so that I could keep track of things. If I had my client list here, whatever it is that I was doing, I was constantly propping this open in where it needed to be at. And that really, in terms of just day-to-day using of my bullet journal, that was kind of not working for me. I don't go out a lot. Like this to me is a perfect system for people who are on the go. I'm not on the go. I am pretty much my mundane job, my truth and story reading job is at home, so I really am pretty much stationary, and I'm going back and forth between the couch, my desk, and my reading table, right? So I don't go a lot, and this I think is amazing for when you're traveling. And again, I loved this as a really glorified wallet for when I'm out and about taking lists. My boss calls me all the time, all of a sudden I have to write down a list. This is going to work really well for that, because I did use it that way, and I stopped bullet journaling for a little bit because this was doing so well on my wallet that it wasn't getting used at my desk and my table and stuff. So this was second iteration. So I went from Leuchtturm to the Midori. And then the disc binding system came to my attention through Veronica Jude. She'd done a few videos showing kind of her tarot journals and things like that with this system, and my interest was piqued, right? However, I didn't jump on it. I wasn't sure what I don't know. It was like, okay, that's interesting, but I wasn't quite ready to really jump into it. And then came a situation where I'm going to get some things out here in a minute, but you know what, let me stop for a minute. So I'm going to come to the whole system in a second and how I got there, but for right now I'm just going to show you how I have my bullet journal set up right now. So I'm using this now. This I actually just made, and again I'm going to talk to you about this, but this is a cover that I made off of a cutting board, flexible cutting board. But this is a basic setup that came with, let me get these just black covers, and you can get different colors as well. And it came with this cover, these size rings, which are the smallest size rings. These are the TUL from Office Max. And then these little binder or index tabs here also were TUL. And that was the very first, well, I'll show you what the very first one I got. And then this I've made. But this is, and we're going to talk about this, so if you're like, what are we talking about? We're going to get there. But for a minute, let's talk about my bullet journal setup. So I'm a huge tab person. I have lots of tabs, sticky tabs. I love tabs. I always use index tabs, whatever these are called, right? Separators. I'm very organized as things, and that's something that I couldn't do in the Leuchtturm or the Midori in terms of bullet journaling. I couldn't separate things off, which I know is the point of the bullet journal system. However, I need a little bit more. I was ending up with multiple books again. So when I first started bullet journaling, I had a variety of, I had a workbook, work for my mundane job. I had a book for Truth and Story. I had my regular planner, and I had stuff scattered everywhere, and things were not being organized that way. So I found at the end of, just before, January, so the beginning of January, I found I was back in that space where I had this book over here, that book over there, and things were just getting separated again, and I did not want that to happen, because what I loved about the bullet journal was having everything in one space. But it really wasn't working for me, and I didn't do much bullet journaling in January. And if I don't plan, if I don't have my bullet journaling or planning of some sort, my list areas, organization goes out the window for me. So that's why I was so excited when this came up, when I figured this out. So the way I have my bullet journal set up, I bought a printout from Etsy. I'll put a link to the description in the description box below, but I printed out a monthly, so that for the whole year, because I really do love monthly planners. It's important to me. I don't use them a lot in day to day, but as terms of forward planning and kind of skimming over things, I do actually use them. So I went through and I put in my bills, I put in my paydays, I put in birthdays, I put in the moon cycles, and I put in the Sabbats, because so I can remember, okay, Litha is coming up, right? So I went through and did that. So this first section is my monthly planner. So I just have that year ahead to be able to pop anything in and to that kind of thing. So that's important to me. It's something, ever since I started bullet journaling, I've stuck with having a monthly at the beginning of that section because it just works well for me. And then I have, the next tab is my actual bullet journaling. I do like to have a week ahead, so I have a week ahead, and then it goes into my dailies. And I just kind of start with whatever header I'm using, and this is just one that I happen to find. I will Google like daily bullet journal and hit images and then just see what people are doing. So none of this is original. I love this tracker. I've been using this for quite a while. Sometimes all the way across. I was just trying out this double version. This is from Boho Berry, and I mostly use it to track my sleep because I have a lot of issues with sleeping. So like here, I went to bed at 4 in the morning and I got up at 11, went to bed at 4:30, got up at 10:30, right? I put the lines, but I haven't colored this in. Went to bed at 2:30, got up at 9:30. That's mostly what I use it for, but sometimes I fill in other things as well. So that's something I've used for quite some time and I love. I usually do some kind of tag. This is a new tag I'm trying. And then it's just, again, this isn't a video explaining bullet journaling. I have other ones and you can see other ones. But this is my kind of daily setup. So this section will have sort of at the beginning of the week, it gets the weekly, and then it goes into my dailies when the next week starts. I start the weekly and, you know, go on from there. Obviously, I just started this book up. And so I always like to have the tag with the date. That changes. Sometimes it's a flag. I quite like this though. I just found this and really like it. I do like to do the little weather one. I don't know what happened to that little sun there, but I do like to do the weather, and then I'm pulling a moon oracle for each of the days this week, and so I've written down, you know, what my moon oracle card is. I haven't done it yet for today. I got some beautiful flowers, and so I drew a little flower there. I went through and picked out, I do like color in my bullet journals, but I don't like too much or it gets to be chaotic for me. So I went through and picked out a 7 muted colors, and right now that's what I'm using. And I did that before, but it usually were brighter colors. So this time I kind of went through, I have, actually this should be another one. There's a blue. So I have a very muted palette here, and then a black because sometimes I fill in like the moons and stuff, but you can see all the colors there that I chose so that I have a little bit of splash of color, but it's not overwhelming. So right now these are Staedtler colored pencils, and I just kind of keep those by my couch. And these are the colors that I pull for if I want to fill in some color. I also really love this Bart turned me on to these mild liners that are very light highlighters, and I love this gray one. I know some people use a Tombow, which I do want to pick up because I want to try that out. I apologize, somebody is driving by very loudly. So I quite like this for highlighting, just that I don't want color. Like for example, I did that with the Sabbats in here. I just kind of drew a line across it, and so I quite like those. I have these in, I got this set here with these colors, and they're just they're not obnoxious. They're, again, really beautiful colors instead of, most highlighters are so obnoxious color-wise. So there's a couple other sets of this. I definitely want to get another set of this because I love that they're not obnoxious colored highlighters. And then I have a section for collections because I do kind of like those to be separate. I know technically collections should all go in with your bullet journal. I just personally I have enjoyed with the Midori kind of having those separate. So these are orders that I have out. Fairy Enchantment, it has been purchased. The money's gone through. It's been paid for, but I haven't received it yet. I ordered some ink toner for my printer, and I have ordered it, but it's on a wait list or whatever, so it hasn't actually been come out of my account yet, and I certainly haven't received it either. I have a deck wish list I'm restarting. I have deck purchases so that I can make sure I'm budgeting things, and I haven't gone through and done all my collections, but this will be a section for collections, books I'm reading, anything like that that you would use for collections. And then I'm trying to peek and make sure I don't have anything I'm showing here. Then I have a section for the truth and story. Is this covering names? Yes. So for example, I keep a running reading list, which I'm in the process of, like, obviously doing all this. And look, you can clip, and we're going to get to that, but you can clip, punch just about anything. Like, this is just a card. I'm not going to flip it over because then you'll see names, but this is an extra tarot card. It's the art card that came with the Tarot of the Trees, and I just punched it, and it's now actually a tab that will take me, actually I can take this off, which is what I was using. And yeah, you can punch just about anything. So like, for example, I have this little wolf here, that I love. In fact, there's a written, this just keeps right now I'm getting used to the grid. Grid is how much, what size the grid is. So I keep that on there. But yeah, you can punch just about anything and stick it in here, just little random notes and things. So this is truth and story stuff. It has like tracking of readings, tracking income, things like that. So that's a tab for that. And then there's a tab for my mundane job, which is generally lots of lists. I'm usually just making lists of things, making lists of products. I just kind of obviously just started. For that, I'm using the lined paper. So for all the bullet journaling things, I'm using graph paper. And then for my mundane job, I'm using the lined paper because I have a bunch of it that came with the different folders, and it works well for that context. And then I have one of these little folders here in the back. So that is what my current iteration of my bullet journal looks like. So I wanted to kind of update that, but now let's talk about this system because I'm obsessed. What got me started on this disc binding system, which I quite am obsessed with, as you're going to find out, but I was doing a class for geomancy, and I had a bunch of handouts. I had sort of I was doing live, I'm doing live classes, and I needed to be able to keep all of the material organized, but I also needed to be able to easily show it in class, and I was getting papers flying everywhere. So I went to the Office Max, and I just was trying to find a folder that would wrap around. I'm going to do this carefully because I don't want to show names here. So I did find this folder that would wrap around so I could kind of go like this because it's upside. In the class I'm taking, and you're seeing from this way, I could kind of flip through what was going on here. As I was talking about things, I could flip through it. I thought, but I was having problems with it because when you flip it around, it like bends everything around, and it was okay, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And when I was looking through these, I did look at the tool disc binding system briefly, and I thought, oh, I remember Veronica Jude had shown those, but I just wasn't still sure, and I thought it was going to be a lot more of a money investment, and so I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. This was pretty cheap, and so I'm going to give this a try because it's just, it might work. But the more papers that I started trying to flip over like this, when I was trying to view them, it just started to this was a little bit unwieldy, so it kind of did what I wanted, but it wasn't quite doing what I wanted. And so then I had gone back to Office Max, and I noticed that, let me get, wait, here we go. We've got lots of stuff here, lots of stuff, folks. Office Max had all of their tool stuff on sale. It is not on sale right now, at least not around me. But let me make sure if I have anything. No, okay. It's not around me anymore, but it was a really good sale. It was a great sale. And so I was like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty cheap. So I was able to pick up this basic tool notebook for This is the full-size one. I think I got this for $10. I can't remember what it was originally. Yeah, because I think the little one was $7 something, and then this ended up being about $10. So the first time I went in, I purchased this, and I purchased these little flags because I'm a huge Post-it flag kind of person, and I picked up these index things to separate things off. And so that's all I did. It was under $20 with the sale. I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. It was really a relatively cheap, even if it's full price. When you just get these kind of plastic covers, it's not that expensive. And I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a try. Fell in love with this. Now, I didn't get the puncher or anything at first because, again, I wanted to just try this out. And so I did get this. This kind of flips. You can take it in and out. And we're going to talk about that in 1 second about what is this whole system, right? But I'm just going to kind of showing you, I guess, the progression. And so I just purchased, you know, that came with this lined paper. And then I purchased a pack, which was again on sale, of this graph paper. And I just printed on the graph paper because I didn't want to invest in a hole punch at the outset because I wasn't really sure if I was going to love this or like this or what I was going to think about this, right? I ended up absolutely falling in love with it. It works perfect because, and this actually probably should be in a little bit bigger rings, but this is just the ones that come with it. I don't know why. I keep doing that because that's how I do it in class. But I'm able to completely flip it over just like a spiral bound. And it just keeps everything in place. If for some reason I decide, oh, I want to have this one to be after a missio, then I can just, you know, move it over and pop it back in, and I can change my ordering around, do whatever it is that I want to do there. Punched in, you know, the copies of this. So this is all my geomancy class things. And so again, this setup here was a little under $20 because it was on sale. You'll see that I did end up getting a puncher and was able to just put in some random things from when I first started figuring out what I was going to do from the class. So this is what started, and I was like, oh my goodness, I love this. So that led to phase 2. As you all know, and I'm not going to go through all these because we don't have time for all that, right? Oops. I have had several iterations, just like with my bullet journal. Let me get one that's actually, here we go. First, I started with these, which sit on my reading table. They had lots of, look at all that. I wrote all this out, all the different types of systems that I use. It's all in here. But the thing is when I started to want to go back, of course, I couldn't add things in. I couldn't change things when I realized something wasn't the way I wanted it. And so I loved this, but it was a little bit too small. And it was also, I just started to get things all mixed up in there. But I still liked having something compact on my table. I mostly only used this one. And so then that led to, this is not actually it, this, which is my book of divination, which has, again, look at all that writing, and I don't like to write. In fact, you can see I just kind of stopped because my hand was killing me. I started to have to work on geomancy in a different format, but I really love, I love this height. But again, same thing. I can't change things. I can't move things around. If I want to add a different thing in, but I want it to go in with this section, I can't do that. And so so as soon as this worked, I'm like, oh, this is what I need. And again, I had multiple books, a book of divination. I had a book of, I called it Methods of Magic, but it's just basically correspondences, astrological correspondences, different things like that. So I had sort of I was starting to grow a mini book collection again. So now, because I haven't finished transferring everything, I now have 5 little books sitting on my reading table. I have this box here that keeps all kinds of stuff, and it just, they sit in here, and that's great. But I'm up to 5 of these things that are shoved right here. So I thought, okay, I know what I can use this for this. Now, I originally got this. So I'm starting to, yes, accumulate, because I ran back while it was still on sale because I wanted to grab it and was able to get a little one. So this little one, this black one, which is this, came with this, again came with these smallest ring bindings. So I picked this up for about $7 because, again, it was a great sale. And so I picked this up for $7, and I thought, okay, I can use this for that. I got the tabs, same thing, just got the tabs. I got this for $7, and I got a set of the tabs. And I thought, okay, I can use this for that. But that's when I realized, oh, shoot, I could use this for bullet journaling. See how it grows. See how it grows, right? Oh, my goodness. Because what happened then was I realized that I needed to get the puncher. So I signed up for Office Max emails and got a coupon and went back and got this big puncher. And you can see that this puncher punches the special, these are just extra pages. It punches these holes, but oh, I need to see it on black. See how these are the holes that it gets made? They look like little mushrooms. This puncher punches that so that I can punch any paper and or items, cardstock, whatever I want to punch. I can punch in there and then just be able to add into my, like this. I have, this is a, I just wanted to use this for something else, but I just stuck it here for now. But I took this card that was in one of my card packs, an extra card, again, like I used with the other one, and I could punch it and stick it in. And now, so if I stuck it, okay, I want to keep track of something over here. You know, that this, of course, this isn't fully done, but see, now I've got a bookmark that punches in there and works beautifully. So so I picked up the puncher. That was definitely my most expensive because everything else up to this point was on sale, good sale. And then when I went back, the sale was off. I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to invest in the puncher because so far, like this was $10, the other book was $7. This was, I think, originally $39 maybe. And this is the tool one. There are, I'm going to talk about it in a minute. There's several different systems you can get a puncher with the tool. Arc, Levenger, as well as a Happy Planner all have punchers. This is just, again, something readily available by me, and I figured if it doesn't really work the way I hoped it would, I can just return it because it's right next to me. So I purchased this, and that really opened things up, and I thought, okay, I could use this for bullet journaling, and it exploded. So I took a little bit of a trip up to a Staples. So the tool system, and they're all interchangeable, the tool system is probably the cheapest, and this is at Office Max, Office Depot. They are combined where I am. I don't know if they're combined everywhere, but that has the tool system, TUL. And so then in Staples, the store Staples, which I believe is more worldwide, has an ARC system, ARC. Everything is interchangeable. I have a Staples, but it's up a ways from me, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a trip up there and see what they have. And so I picked up some larger, because for the tool, where I'm at, when you get it, you get these little rings, and these hold about 60-ish paper, it says. Now, in this book, I have about 60 of the graph, and I also have a little bit of the lined paper in here. I have all these little, you know, index tabs here, and I have like this ruler thing that comes in and out. So I have all this stuff in here on the smallest ring, which are under the size of an inch, and it's good. Like, it's holding it fine. Eventually, I'll probably move my bullet journal up to an inch because I do have so many different things in there. I'll probably shift it to these, which are an inch, and that's what we see over here on this one, as this inch, which can hold up to 150 pages. But for the tool brand, I found that you either had a choice between these little ones that came with it, or these 1.5 inch disc, which can hold up to 200. Some things I say that the 1.5 inch can hold up to 250. It depends on your paper, right? It depends on the thickness of your paper. What? I feel like I have a mouse somewhere again. I'm not going to go there. So that seems to be the only 2 sizes near me for the tool system. And so for the arc system, which is, let me move this out of the way here. For the arc system, again, all interchangeable. They have a variety of different sizes and a variety of different materials. They have metal ones, a lot of different colors. There was definitely a lot more in terms of range of things with the arc system when I went up to Staples. And so I just purchased a plain black. I know I bought 3 of these in a relatively short time, and they were all black. But I do like a standard black. This is going to be for stay on my table, and this is going to replace all of this stuff here. And I haven't really done much in this because I just purchased this. So I had gone up to Staples. I got the larger size. Right now it's all loosey-goosey because I haven't added my paper in or anything. So it's a little bit loose here. It's got a pen holder here. It's got a little folder here. And then they had all black, which I thought was really gorgeous for this particular thing. They had all black of these things, as well as these gray folders, which came in a 2-pack. I put one in here and one in my bullet journal. So, you know, I'm going to have, let's say, tarot stuff. Like right now I'm working on the English Magic Tarot and kind of translating and decoding the secret codes that are in these. So I've just kind of stuck these in here right now. And then I can have a section on geomancy, which this just has a mini version of all of those things you saw in my larger geomancy. I'm going to have like correspondences for candles and crystals and all that kind of stuff. Astrology, like whatever, a correspondence section. And then I have one for like intention. So on the February 10th with the full moon in eclipse, I had done, you know, a specific some various things. I took a picture and kind of stuck it on here, and I wrote out like what I did, what are the correspondence, the things that I used and things like that, and the steps that were taken. And then I have some notes about some other things that I did. So you can see I can mix in. So I could, you know, I could move my notes and stick it in between the 2 of these, you know, when I have other things that are, you know, I might keep notes on how certain things, you know, have played out, and so I can end up sticking it between them for the next thing that's going to be there. And so this is the section is going to be more about ritual and intention and that kind of thing. Sorry, I had to cover some things up because I had some client sheets. But like on Etsy, as well as on my website, I can print out a invoice from when somebody orders a reading. It has their information. It has any comments or notes that they sent me. I can put any notes in there that I want, and then when I print it out, I have that. And I usually keep that on a clipboard. Because I can punch the top of these, I found I just kind of fold it over, leaving me a little space there, and put a puncher. And then I can just stick this in to the back of this, because this is always on my table. And so when I'm going to grab the next person, I just pull it out and I have the next person. So I really love having the puncher in that way. So this is a leather bound. So this is leather. It's got that same sort of hard plastic here, and then it's wrapped in leather. And this is the Arc. This one is the Arc. There is another brand called Levenger. They have a Circa system, C-I-R-C-A. They have, that's like the next higher up section. They definitely are more costly. They have a lot of beautiful options. They have a lot of gorgeous rings. They have rings up to holding, I think, 400 sheets of paper, so huge rings that you can get to expand if you need to expand. That's the nice thing. If I outgrow this, now this is going to let me hold quite a bit, because you think about if it comes up like this, it's going to let me hold quite a lot of paper. But if I outgrow that, it's very simple to swap out these discs and make this bigger. And the Levenger has some beautiful metal ones, gold ones, silver ones, copper ones, kind of gem looking ones. Definitely higher cost and beautiful leather bound covers. They also have covers that wrap around the disc thing, so it looks more like a regular planner and you don't see these discs. Although when you start to swap them out for some of the metal ones, I mean, they look amazing. So those are the 3 ways. Oh, I'm going to show you a 4th though, but these are 3 of the ways that I'm using this system, which is quite interchangeable. So I'm using this as a bullet journal and all my daily tracking and all that kind of stuff in here. I have this one, which is staying on my desk. This is going to have all my correspondences. This is going to have all of my charts, my Deste card charts, my life path numbers. I think this is numerology. Geomancy is already in there. Kipper, Lenormand, Marseille style reading information, like everything that all this correspondences to the different things, my actual spreads and things of that nature are all going to go in here, and it's all going to, this is just going to sit right on my desk, and the size is perfect. I went back and forth over getting full size versus this, but very often let's say I'm going to, I don't have it in here to do it, but let's say, okay, I'm going to be, this has a chart, my chart on a particular reading or spread or something of that nature. I want my full Lenormand spread if I'm swapping to the other house system that I don't use all the time. I can just have this folded over. It actually stands, which is kind of nice as well. Or I just lay it over here on the side that doesn't show in the video, and I have access to it. So the size for me is very usable. So that's why I ended up going with this. I really went back and forth over that a lot. So that's 3 ways in which I am using currently using these. Now there is one other way that I'm using it, because again I have this that I can now punch holes in just about anything. That really opened up the door. Now this is going to look silly right now because I'm just in the beginning phases. As you know, I am working on, I just haven't got to the painting part, right? I'm working on an oracle card, a cartomancy deck. And I was going to do it in watercolor. I've been playing around with things, testing things out, and I've decided that I really want to do it in pastels. But I was kind of stymied because pastels are hard to store. I have a very small apartment. I cannot have just 50 mini pastel paintings laying around or spread out everywhere. And so once I realized that what I could do here, I got a pack of the bigger ones. So this is the Tool 1.5 inch discs. And I just took a piece of watercolor paper on the front and the back. Now I have another way to do covers, and I'll show you that in a second. But and then what I did is I went through and cut out the pastel paper that I'm going to use, but I left a 1/2 inch extra on one side because mine are what I'm doing is square. But I left an extra 1/2 inch for this, to be able to punch it. So then, and now this is very awkward because I haven't filled them all out. I don't like to paint watercolor or anything in a binder. That's one thing I've found, even with an art journal. I just don't like it. I like to be able to tape it down. Well, this way I can remove it, tape it onto my surface, do the painting, and be able to pop it back in here. Again, usually this is not awkward, but because these are so big and floppy, I can pop it back into here, take a picture of it, pop it back into here, and then I did the same thing, cut a same size piece of tracing paper to go over the top of the because pastel stays where you can smudge it and things. So I went through, I had 2 big pieces of pastel paper that I was going to be using, and I cut down to the size plus a 1/2 inch, and then did the same for tracing paper. And eventually, I'll be able to have all 50, paintings pastel paintings on here with a piece of tracing paper in between. So I really love this, and this is a 140-pound watercolor paper, and so I'm going to make a watercolor journal. Same thing. I have a beautiful watercolor journal, but I don't use it because I don't like painting that way. I really like to be able to tape down. I will obviously just tape a little bit further in on this side, and then I'll be able to put it back in. So I'm going to make a watercolor journal of watercolor paper as well. So that is a fourth way in which I'm going to be. That's why I got so excited, because I started here and I was like, okay, that works perfect for the class situation. And then I was like, oh, that's going to take care of my situation of having multiple books and things on my table. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I could use this for bullet journaling, and that takes care of bullet journaling. And then I thought, oh, that's going to take care. And it just kind of snowballed, and I was so excited about it. Lastly, I just want to show you that you can do this even more cheaply than, again, the tool system is not very expensive. So for example, I purchased this for $7, but even full price, I think this one is, which is a half size, is $10. So it's not an expensive outlay at the beginning. It comes with the lined paper. To get a pack of the graph paper for this size is about $5. So the inserts are about $5. These little tabby things are about $5 if you don't get them on sale, and so on and so forth. But it's really not, it's not a horrible expensive. It can go really expensive when you start to get into the Leverringer products. The biggest expense up front is the punch. But once you have that, you know, then you're kind of done with that. So you can wait for a coupon or a good sale. But to get started, it's fairly cheap. But you don't have always a lot of, like I decided, oh, it would be nice if I had a lime green cover, but I didn't want a leather one. They have a lot of beautiful colors in leather, but this makes it a lot heavier, and just for my tote around, throw in my bag, I really didn't want the leather. It's beautiful, but it just makes the whole thing heavier, so I didn't want that. And so I saw a video last night. I saw two videos. One where a lady was kind of making, doing different things to make it so it's top bound, because she likes to have a top bound instead of a side bound, and then that led to one thing after another. She did a video on using placemats and cutting boards and to be able to make your covers, which is exactly, this is maybe a little bit harder, but this is not by much. This is very similar and very cheap. A little bit messed up, but that was my first attempt. So I stopped in at Dollar General, and they had these flexible cutting boards. Now the late girl who did it, she found some beautiful placemats that had decorations. I'm definitely going to look for that. But I just wanted to kind of test it out. And so this had two flexible cutting boards that were 8.5 by 11 for $2. And it came with, each one came with one of these lime greens and one of these red ones. And so I bought 2 packs, so it was $4. And because I wanted to have 2 of this size, and that leaves me 2 of this, although I think I'm going to make an index card. I love index cards. I have 3x5 index cards on my desk all the time, and you'll see if I'm doing a live video, I'll write something down really quick. Well, I wanted to punch them and make a little case, little cover for them, because then I can actually pull them out and stick them into here. So that's another, I'll show you that in a minute, but that's another thing that I love about it. So I just picked up 2 of these packs, so it was $4, and use this as a template and cut this out. Now, I messed up with the corner roundings. I ended up getting better at it, but on this first iteration, you can see like this was rounded off too much, and so it ends up where you can see a little bit of the point there. There's a couple other mess ups why this one is on the back, but that was just me more using the knife well and that kind of stuff, and realizing to use scissors on the corners and just round it a little bit differently. So I did get it sorted out. I figure, okay, well, that was just a $2 tester, and that's okay. Actually, that's probably not going to bother me too much, but we'll see. I'll eventually remake this so that it fits exactly correctly. But so that was all I did was cut it out, punch, so then you can see I'm not going to pull them all out, but you can see I just punched them right with my puncher, and so now, and then popped it in, and that was just with that flexible cutting board, which you can get all different colors of. And the same thing, there are plastic like this, rubbery plastic placemats, or the other things that people use that have pretty patterns and things. But they were for $2. I ended up with a lime green. I could have done it on this side too, which has a bit of a pattern, but it's a little bit like of a tacky surface, and I thought, oh, that's going to attract all kinds of lint and stuff, Isabel hair and stuff like that. So I didn't end up using that side of it for this tester, but you definitely could, because it looks pretty cool on that side. So so yeah, you can make all kinds of covers for really cheap. Patrick and I had the idea I could also take these black ones and wrap in leather or some other kind of fabric, just like we did with making our books, leaving this out, because you'll see, if you look at this real close, this has leather stitched. It's probably not stitched through. I'm guessing it's stitched and stuck on, just like what I would do, but they've taken a piece of, no, it's definitely wrapped around here. So this is just wrapped around this plastic, and it has then this leather cover here. So you could wrap with any kind of fabric or material and just leave that little boundary there, and have yourself a beautiful wrapped cover as well for quite cheap. With these are cheap, and then you can just use that to wrap and make a different cover that way. So there's a lot of, I think, customization that you can do with this system, let alone the customization that comes from being able to punch. Like, I love this. I just had this little thing that I had printed on photo paper, and it has a laminate at the top, and I can just stick little quotes in here as I want to decorate things up, for example, as well as this card here. Use this tarot. I have all kinds of extra tarot, the artist cards of tarot. I don't leave them in the boxes. It drives me nuts. So I have a little pile of them that I can use for bookmarks, or just to kind of stick in to look pretty wherever I want to stick them. So I really like the flexibility of this. Receipts, you can, punch a receipt and stick it in there if you wanted to save it and stick it on there. There's just a lot of things that you can do, and then moving things around. I also took the leftover, where did I put that? So when I was cutting the mat out, I have all these little pieces that are left over. And so I took one of those little pieces and I punched it up, upwards, so that it would stick up above the book. And it makes a wonderful, again, bookmark. So for example, if I know that, next week or this Saturday when we're going to be working with this particular, oops, I got too many things. So I can punch, and the first time you do it is a little bit, but see how they just kind of pop into those little mushrooms. And that I can cut a little bit more. I wasn't sure how high I wanted it, so I can definitely cut that off and round it a little bit better. But there I actually have a bookmark then that can go in your day thing, so you could do that in your bullet journal. A lot of people like to mark, where you're at for the day. I love this ruler because with I do a lot of like drawing lines and things. So I love having this ruler, which was a tool one. You can get various iterations of this, and it's nice because it cut a slot out, which I could do as well. So that because you're taking this in and out a lot, so you don't have to kind of rip all of them. You just have 2 here and 2 there. So I could do the same thing. I could cut out a little section here and just be able to do just those 2 at a time. So you could use it for a marker. Again, I quite like having this ruler here, but I could use it for my month marker that I have right now. I have this here, or I could take that. Again, I now have way too many things that are falling everywhere for me to find it. I could take this little playing card here, which I stuck on here, and stick this in my month here, and then have, so there I've got my month, there I've got my day, there I have my my reading list that I need to access. So there's a lot of things that you can do. I'm so in love with that. I'm obsessed, right? So obsessed. But I did like that, being able to use your leftover scraps. Again, that's way too high, so I'll just cut that down, round the corners off, and have it not be sticking out quite so much. But it makes a really great way to do that. Which you could do with heavy cardstock, chipboard, like there's all kinds of things you could do to do it that way. So there we have a little bit of a look. And I should have said, I didn't do a very good job because I'm just excited, but I should have done a little bit of an explanation of what is, and I'm just going to do that really quickly, what the glory of this is, because you're thinking, well, a lot of people think these look ugly. I don't mind it for what I'm using them for. I don't mind it, the look of it at all. And I said you can get some beautiful metal ones as well as some multicolored, like jewelry looking ones or crystally looking ones. There's a lot of different ones that you can pick up. I particularly like the copper ones. I saw a set of brass ones that Bart showed me on wood covers that were gorgeous, but they weren't like a standard size. So for example, this is a letter size, and these, when it had the black cover, this is Tulle and this is Arc, and they both hold a half sheet of paper. So I literally can just print out a half sheet, cut it in half, and punch it, and then I can put whatever paper I want. I could put a piece of watercolor, so I could have a little sketch area and have a little piece of watercolor stuck in here. I can use any kind of paper I want to do different things, different, you know, have different functions. But basically what you're getting is a combination of a spiral notebook, so it can, I'm going to make sure I don't flip it anywhere, it can flip over and lay flat as a spiral notebook, but then also the form and function of a binder without having to constantly open the binders up again. So it's a kind of a marriage between a binder, a 3-ring binder, and a spiral bound notebook. But this really excites me as a way to hold all of these pastel paintings that I'm going to get with my deck that I'm working on. So there we have it. If you want a more in-depth, I don't see why, but if for some reason you have any questions or there's something I didn't cover, feel free to comment below and I'll be happy to. But just to reiterate, I've used the Tulle as well as the Arc. And there is also, Michaels has Happy Planner, they have a whole bunch of things there as well. Everything is very interchangeable between the two of them, or the three of them. And I think there are more. I saw recently another one that I have to do a little research on, but there are other ones out there, and they all seem to be fairly interchangeable. So it's all Veronica Jude's fault.